morning, Chaldea. My name is Cole.
I'm Jamek.
And I'm Jacob.
And we are three Weebs telling you what to think about Fate.
Now, again, you can have your own opinion. We're stating our opinions.
You stated this
you can
already.
Have your own.
This is the correct one.
It's
the only correct opinion podcast.
There is
that's
no
us.
correct opinion.
This is the correct opinion.
That's
Rena's
not
best
how...
girl.
Oh boy. First podcast and we're already getting into this.
Yay.
Alright, anyway, I guess we should kind of introduce ourselves. Jacob, you want to go first?
Oh, I certainly do. I got into the Fate series about when I was like, don't stare at me like that. When I was like 16. It was like my fourth or fifth anime, and I was super hooked on it. A friend recommended it to me, and I started watching Fate Zero first, and everyone, is in the background's like, ooh, play the visual novel first. And I'm like, yeah, well, I read the Fate Zero. I watched Fate Zero, and then I went on to later watch Stay Night and every other show that came since, and that's been a really good time.
Yes.
Jake.
Oh, I guess
Jamek.
I'm next.
I'm gonna do that a lot.
Actually,
fair warning.
let's do Cole next because Cole got into
Sure.
Fate next.
Sure,
Cool.
that makes sense. Yeah, Jacob was the one who forced me into this. I have this very distinct memory. One of the 5 memories I have of my childhood of us in a library at next to some manga, and you kind of trying to explain the plot of Fate Zero to me.
I don't remember this.
It's a very specific memory that I have, and I think I was kind of like, oh, okay, at the time, and then I watched it, and it was the best fucking anime. It's still my favorite anime.
Yeah, that's a good point
day.
to make. Fate Zero is still my favorite anime of all time.
Mm-hmm.
Even amongst all the other shows. So
Yeah, and then I eventually watched Blade Works and all the other stuff, and in too deep now.
Yeah. My story is.
this is Jamek, by the way.
Yes. Hello. I am Jamek. My story is basically the same. These two were telling me that I should start watching anime and I should start watching Fate and Fate Zero, and I was just kind of like, yeah, okay, that's nice. And then I seem to remember reading some article that was talking about a bunch of anime, and it mentioned that there was a bunch of famous historical figures in it, and that was something that they had failed to mention, which instantly hooked me because I'm a big history and mythology buff. So that
History
was
and mythology nerd, I would say, but
potato. So
Potato, tomato.
that doesn't. Never
Tomato.
mind. So I started watching Fate Zero. From there to all of the same other stuff that everyone else has just been talking about. I got hooked to the point that I wrote a Fate RPG at one point, which is okay. It's okay.
It's okay. It's playable, and we had fun.
It is playable, and we did have fun. I claimed the world for Rome, and it was beautiful.
So the important lesson to learn is the Fate is a contagious disease that spreads from one person to another, eventually infecting the entire anime community. So
it's wonderful. So, since this is, of course, primarily going to be a FGO podcast, though.
Of course, because we've mentioned that at this point.
But yeah, and then kind of the reverse happened for us getting into FGO. Jamek, you kind of started this.
That's Fate Grand Order for the. You know that.
In case you're listening to this and you don't know what that is, yes, we didn't explain the Fate series, but we're gonna explain Grand Order.
Yeah.
So, Grand Order is the mobile game, based on Fate, and it's a gacha game which is very popular in Japan and not so popular here for a good reason. The economics of the game are not very well suited to actually getting the kind of characters that you want. But it is very lucrative for the producers.
They're annoying at best, borderline abusive at worst. But you know, whatever. It has fake characters and waifus in it. So.
Yoda Kobe.
Zashi. All right. Yes, I was the first of us three to actually start playing Grand Order. I was playing it on the day of because at the time I was very obsessed with the whole Fate and learning everything that I could about the world and the canon. And so when this game came out, I was like, specifically the NA server, the North American server came out because I didn't know how to access the Japanese server at that point. So I've been playing the North American server since day one. I was super into it, just flew through the whole big chunk of story, and then realized that not all the story was available right at the beginning, and I had to wait for more story and more events and stuff.
It's been a long, slow process getting all the things.
It
right?
has. It's been over a year and a half.
Yeah, that's pretty crazy to me. But we'll get to me later. How about you next, Cole?
Yeah, I was the second one to get into it. J-Mick introduced me, introduced both of us to the concept, and I was the first one to actually go like, okay, I'll try this. It's Fate. I might get cute waifus.
I think I started trying to convince you guys pretty early on, but only started in earnest around the time of the first Goda Goda event, because I was like, hey, there's a character that you aren't going to be able to get after this. You might want to play if you get a chance. But I think you started playing closer to the Karno Kyokai event.
I started playing right at the end of Valentine, so right when the KNK event was about to start. And I did that, and I didn't get any copies of Shiki, which I'm still very sad about. Though we're gonna get a rerun.
I'm so sorry.
Shiki Assassin. Oh my gosh, yeah, we're all big Karno Kyokai fans, so that's sad.
She's definitely my favorite assassin I have. Maybe my favorite assassin in the game. It's close, but I'm a big fan of Assassin Shiki. But yeah, the rerun will be a little over a year from now.
A little over a year. So and we are recording this. We are recording this at the end of January. I don't know when this.
Yeah, that's a good point.
You might not be listening to this at the end of January, but that's where we are currently in the NA server. And
so it's been like almost a month since Solomon came to town, and all that stuff happened.
Clairvoyance CX for about the next 2 years or so. So you know, we can see through what are they doing right now? The Prisma Ilia rerun, I think, in JP.
And then when I really started playing was I have a very distinct memory. I was sick like last winter break.
I think I remember you talking about
I was sick in bed, and I didn't have the focus to play WoW, which is what I usually do. So I was like, okay, I'll play this. I played through the entirety of
That's
Orleans.
Right, you were talking about this.
I played through the entirety of Orleans and was like, well, I'm in too deep now, because I got into the AP spiral where I just keep leveling up, and my AP refills, and I'm like, well, might as well use this.
Yeah.
And I got up to like London, I think, in like 3 weeks, because London had also just come out at that point.
Yeah, not that long beforehand. Yeah, back in my day, we only had 2 chapters, Orleans and September. No, we had 3 chapters, and one of them was the prologue.
Was there anything else you wanted to say about it?
That's my introduction for now. So
fair enough. So I am the resident gacha hater. I really hate them. I played Fire Emblem Heroes for a bit before this, and it burnt me out so hard on the concept of gacha games. And honestly, the game wasn't garbage. It was just like frustrating. And when I came, and I really disliked the whole economics of it. And so when I came to Fate, I started playing it back when it first launched for like a few days. And it really, I don't know. I was just so turned off at the time that I couldn't force myself to do anything with it. So I stopped playing, and I literally could not be convinced to play it until they told me Reen was going to be in the game in the form of Ishtar. And that was literally why I started playing the game. So I'm like, alright, well, if I want to have any chance of getting Ishtar, I should probably start playing now, I guess. And this was in late November of 2018.
Somewhere around there.
So yeah, right before the Christmas events and reruns and stuff. So anyway, the whole year prior to that, I ruthlessly made fun of the game, and I still do to this day, to be frank. But mostly for the gacha and the the business parts of it. The game itself shocked me, honestly. The story was so good. We'll get to that more a little more later, but the story was really so good, and the gameplay was fun enough, and it scratched that itch for me of the kind of game where you just kind of want to get everything perfect. You know, you just want to maximize everything just right.
Eke out every little bit of efficiency that you
every
can.
little bit of efficiency, every little bit of value.
Strategic team building.
And it made me, and the team building's fun too. So, anyway, I came in right before the Christmas rerun event, the one with Santa Altar, and I bulldozed my way through the game. I played through the first couple chapters in a few days, and then I played the 2 Christmas events back to back, all the while mixing in some more story because I couldn't get behind on story. And I managed to get the servants from those, so that was cool. And then over the next month, I just plowed through it. And then they told me, oh, there's going to be a final event that ends the whole year, that caps off the whole gigantic story. And I have all of Arc 1 in like a week and a half. And if I didn't finish it by that point, not only would I not get the 30 Saint Court bonus, I would not be able to play in the raids that were like the big final ending for everyone. And I was like, what the frick, dude? That's ridiculous. So I played a lot. I played a fucking lot, and it was only really due to my good friends here and their very useful support servants that I was able to rush through. Rama saved me a million times because
level 100 Rama, my boy.
I never got I still to this day don't have a 4-star or higher saber, and I don't even know what to do with when I hit any lancers, so I had to use Rama every time. Anyway, just barely finished the story content. Literally, we sat together like watching Fate as I finished the last tiny bit of story content in Babylon 10 minutes before the time limit ended.
Before the service went down for maintenance.
It was actually very thematically
It was
appropriate.
awesome, but also freaking ridiculous. Anyway, we ended up watching very little Fate because I was too focused on speeding through the last couple sections. So anyway, that's been my experience with it. Since then, I've gotten I got some lucky pulls. We'll talk about that maybe later. But anyway, point is, that's my experience with this. So, now that you know a little bit about us and our history with Fate Grand Order, why don't we talk about our next topic?
The story.
The story.
Story!
Sono story,
So yeah, we each, again, because of our experience, we each kind of have a different experience with the story.
Yeah.
Jacob playing it kind of all at once. J-Mick kind of playing it piecemeal. And me somewhere in the middle. Which I feel like I got I played through all the really quote-unquote boring chapters all at once.
Or at least, not bombastic ones.
Not the insane ones.
Camelot and Babylon were amazing
stories. Those are the best ones by far.
They're
I think everyone agrees.
So good. And there's other good ones, too. Like, I really did like Okeanos.
Okeanos was good.
Okeanos is like a popcorn action movie.
Yeah.
It's a popcorn action movie.
Except with the worst villain of all time.
Yeah, but he wasn't the real villain.
No.
Although the real villain was also pretty sucky.
So, I'd like to put a little disclaimer. We're going to talk about basically everything through the first arc with spoilers. The only
everything through the final singularity.
Correct. The only thing we're going to kind of box off with spoilers, which I will mark off later in the editing, is the very final singularity with Solomon and the events they're in, because there are very important events in there, and I'm not going to spoil the ending of the game for anyone who's not played it yet. But besides that,
I don't think I really got into the story until honestly EPU. That was
EPU was good.
EPU was really
I kind of
good.
forget it exists sometimes, but it's really good.
I remember it because it's where I got spooked by my boy Rama, who you'll learn my love for it in the future of this cast. But That I felt was the perfect blend of like the fun action movie of Okeanos and the like storytelling of Camelot or Babylon.
Yeah.
Like the stakes weren't as high as in that, but because of that, I felt it was more
grounded,
more fun.
Yeah, I could see.
I mean, I don't know, when 34 demon pillars show up out of nowhere, that seems like pretty high stakes.
Yeah.
that was fun.
Yeah. Fair.
I was also Meave.
Meave.
I hate that.
It is pronounced Meave.
I hate that.
my second 5-star that I ever rolled. My first was.
Oh, yeah, that's right. You have Meave, don't you?
Yeah,
Yes.
of course I have.
No, I always think
he got
you
her
don't.
on his first roll of her first rate up.
Wow. wait, like a 10 roll?
Yeah.
Okay.
10 roll.
Damn.
I
I have nothing to say, but yeah, very good.
I got me on the same roll that I got Rama on.
Wow.
My first.
That's a good roll.
It was a really good roll. Yeah.
Also, that was a spook. He wasn't on rate up on that banner. I thought you got Rom on the rate up banner before it. Sorry, interrupt.
I don't remember the specifics.
Right.
Yeah, my first ever 5-star was Tesla, who I was kind of met on. I'm still kind of met on him. I don't like his character, but
his character design isn't amazing. I do kind of love his like big sparky electricity thing, and
I personally almost wish he was more like actual Tesla, where he has like, first off, you gotta give him the Tony Stark mustache, because Tony Stark almost, I believe, has the mustache because it recalls Tesla. And he was not the sort of big, flashy, arrogant personality that you see in the game.
yeah, that always confused me.
he-
He was like a really humble, nice dude who was kind of like just genius. Who whatever. Anyway, I'm not that good at history.
He had a lot of let's say quirks.
Yeah.
As I understand it, he would calculate the cubic volume of each bite of food before he ate it.
Oh.
Like he had to.
What a
And he
nerd.
had to have like
that's
a
some
large
OCD right
number
there.
of napkins.
That
It
sounds
was-
like highly OCD.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, putting our sort of what we know about psychology now
Yeah.
in that context, it was probably something.
But
but
I'm pretty sure.
yeah.
But anyway, let's get back onto a more general topic
Yeah,
here.
sorry.
EPU was cool. It was a cool like ground scale. I wasn't sold on it first because of the weird fucking characters in it. Like Edison, I was like, this is just wrong. Edison's a lion man.
Edison is such like a
His character's pretty much on nose,
He-
but like the lion part, I was like,
he kind of embodies to me like I don't know.
Fate's atmosphere of don't worry about it.
Yeah.
Fate Grand or like the expanded Fate universe. And you see, this is one of my main criticisms about it in the first place. And I still kind of feel this way, but less so, I guess, because it's just easier to have fun with it. But man, it is just some like if you compare the main series Fate anime with what kind of servants they summon, the number of like gender swaps and weird character designs they have in there compared to Grand Order's list. It's like, it's crazy in difference. Like, Grand Order has a billion weirdo characters, alternate versions of characters. Mysterious Heroine X? Like, what?
Not a Fate Grand Order original.
Oh, come off it.
No,
She was like in Gouda Gouda though, which is basic.
She might have been, but I think she started out in like
But this isn't
their April Fool's
This isn't
Day
even my
prank.
point. My point was that the Fate Extended Universe goes so nutty with their weird characters. And I think that's part of the fun of it, is that, like, people like just having fun with the characters when they're not in a serious life or death battle. I think that's the point. But to some extent, I get a little annoyed. Like, when they're like, yes, Florence Nightingale is a berserker. This nurse who healed so many people is a berserker because she heals people fanatically. And I'm like,
Okay.
I get it, but like she shouldn't be a
Just
servant.
Quick disclaimer here. I am the only one of these three who actually likes the version of Florence Nightingale that they have in the game as a character.
I don't hate her character in the game.
Yeah,
but I
think
just
that's an
don't
important
like.
distinction.
Yeah, like I like how she was written. She was a cool character, but I'm like, it's just weird.
It's Florence Nightingale.
Yeah.
Like, it's
And that's kind of a similar problem I have with some of the other ones. I like my heroic experience like I like my coffee. You know, tall, dark, and really makes my stomach hurt when I think about it too long. So, anyway, don't think about that. So, when they introduce these characters that are like, you know, Hans Christian Andersen, I'm like, that's not a servant. That's not heroic servant. That was an author.
It can be both.
See, I just completely disagree, but it's an argument for another time, probably.
We can have a whole episode.
We could have a whole episode about
We probably will. But, yeah, EPU, probably one of my favorite singularities.
Okay, cool. Yes, let's go through that. Favorite singularity. Mine, overall, it's tough. I think overall mine is Babylon. Babylon was so great, and it kind of just summed up everything I liked about it. The story, your choices made more difference. Admittedly, most of them were like minor, you know, wording differences when you talk to people, but they literally sometimes had fights that depended on what you chose. Like the fights against Ereshkigal's gates got harder, easier, depending on whether you told her that you liked her or Ishtar better. It's so good.
That is, so far, I believe the only time that conversation options have actually made any difference
in that
whatsoever.
Singularity.
Yeah, exactly. And to be fair, that's, as far as we've seen, that's the most recent one, except for the final one, which didn't have much in the way of that at all. So, but yeah, I'm
very proud of myself for beating hard cats.
Yeah, the hard version of the fight. Yeah, I went through all
because I do support my fight wife's.
I went through all of the gates of Ereshkigal saying I like Ishtar better because, you know, fight me, she's better. So. Anyway, and J Mick will fight me on.
Well, I ended up fighting hard Ereshkigal kind of by accident because I wasn't thinking about the fact that conversation choice would be mechanically relevant until the moment I pressed it, and I was like, oh.
Well, you had like 5 tries to get it right.
No, I was doing the right ones all up until that, and then it's like at the very end you have to like not side with her.
Oh, I did not get that. Oops.
Yeah, I wouldn't have known that except for the fact that I cheat a lot and I check the wiki.
That's fair. Occasionally, if I've tried enough times against the boss, especially when I was trying to power through the game, I definitely check the wiki on. If I was like, is there some mechanic to these stupid Camelot fights? And there was. There was always a goofy mechanic to those.
I love the Camelot.
Oh, I did. Actually, they were one of my favorite fights in the game. It was just all the sequence of Knights of the Round fights. They were awesome.
Yeah, I that's why I feel like Camelot was my personal favorite singularity.
I'm glad you said that. But wait, 1 second. I just had to point out, the other main reason I liked Babylon was the fact that there was that cool thing, but it was really just the characters for me, ultimately. It was the character drama between Gilgamesh, my favorite Fate character overall, Reen, my favorite Fate girl, who... not technically in the singularity, but is in 2 different characters in the singularity.
So if you put both of them together, they equal Reed.
Exactly. So I love Gilgamesh.
One half is the sun and the other half is the dairy.
Basically. But like, it had a bunch of my favorite characters in it from across Fate. It was a great story, had all kinds of cool things in it. It was just, the story and the characters were amazing, and that's the reason why I love it so much. Go ahead.
Yeah, so I also think that Camelot and Babylonia are far and away the 2 best ones. I feel like Camelot just gets a little bit higher than Babylonia for me, just because I like how I do like a lot of the characters in Babylonia, but I feel like in Camelot almost everyone had a distinct character arc. Like, Mash had a character arc, Bedivere had a character arc, Cursed Arm Hassan had a character arc.
Ooh, best boy.
It was great. It was so great. And Da Vinci had a character arc, Lancelot had a character arc. Like, so many characters have all of this character development.
That's true.
So I feel like Camelot is almost more of a character story, whereas Babylonia is more of a plot story. The story is more about what's happening. It's all of this cataclysmic stuff, and that makes for an awesome story. But I personally just have a bit more of a weakness for character stories, so that's why I like him a lot. Shoutouts, though, to the final singularity for events we'll go into.
Also, minor spoiler for Babylon, has my favorite singular moment in all of FGO. It's the moment where you're fighting Tiamat, you're losing, like, so fucking bad, and Merlin like pops in like, "What up, bitches? I'm not actually dead."
And I brought a friend.
That was King
so
Hassan,
good.
Oh my god, that was such a
evening bell tolls.
That was such a hype moment for me. I love that.
Dogoda.
Never mind. I was going to try to orchestrate a chorus of Dokudas, but it was not obvious enough.
We'll end on it.
It is kind of sad, though, because those of us that tried to roll for
a moment of silence for the end
King
of
grandfather did not get there.
Yeah. So,
might get into that with our egg segment if it's still what we were talking about. But
yeah,
we'll get to that later.
We'll get to it. Well, we keep saying that, but we will. So, the next big topic I think we should talk about is the final singularity. So, at this point, I'd like to put a disclaimer. Future me will be telling you when this segment ends so that you can skip to that point if you don't want any spoilers for what happens at the end of the worlds.
In Saruman.
So, now.
Hey guys, it's Future Jake here. Just skip on over to 42 minutes and 32 seconds for that spoiler-free experience. That is most of the episode left, in case you're wondering. However, we do go into a fun little end segment, so make sure to tune in for that.
So, what do you guys want to say about the final Solomon fight?
I honestly loved it. So I'm not a big fan of raid bosses in general. Rashomon was my least favorite event.
I like the idea
in the game. Less than I liked Rashomon less than I liked Moon Goddess.
Wow.
I have an opinion on these.
So raid bosses not my thing, but just all of these great moments in Solomon with just I like I said, I have a weakness for character stories. My favorite kind of moment is when just everyone from everything comes
just
out to freaking pitch in.
It was just the Smash Ultimate of the Fate universe.
It was the greatest crossover in history.
Everyone's here except Jason.
Yeah,
no, Jason was there too.
Was he?
Yes. Merlin and King Hassan were like the two characters that weren't there. And Merlin just Skyped in with like, "Hey, I'm sorry, I can't show up to save you every time. You won't learn anything."
Merlin is Waluigi of the Fate universe.
But no, I was almost in tears with just this, freaking dramatic. Jean comes out, summons all of the servants from everything. And they all have interactions that you didn't necessarily see in the individual singularities. Oddly enough, Septim, I believe, had the best written one, given that it was the worst written of the singularities.
I want to get into that. First off, rest in peace, our boy Barbados. He died too soon.
Way too soon.
I needed more gears.
Really? Fucking lots of gears! And pages too.
But, yeah, I am like a huge Rome nerd, and I was really sad that Septim was like kind of mediocre. This fucking made up for it. Like, the, Romulus showing up and
that was pretty cool.
Yeah, and Nero just being like, "For Rome, motherfuckers!"
That was a good speech.
It was great.
It was.
It was really good. Yeah, of those, I think other than the very last,
Demon God Pillar.
Yeah, the very last pillar. That one.
Yeah,
that one is my favorite.
Yeah, the
Wait.
conversations around Andromalius were so good because it was just literally everyone who hasn't shown up yet.
Oh.
All of the characters from events.
Yeah, that
all
one
of the
didn't do
characters
anything for me at all.
I know, because we didn't play in any of the events.
Exactly.
It's the
I'm
thing.
like, I don't care about any of these
But
characters.
you got Raiko coming out talking to Skandar. I know you like that.
I did like the Skandar bit.
You get mysterious heroine X.
You get-
freaking having a sword fight with Void Shiki.
You get Chloe making jokes about magical girls fighting tentacles.
That
It's
was
hilarious.
pretty good, actually. So let me put this in perspective for me here. I have to say that part of the event didn't do as much for me. Like, I liked it. There were parts of it that were cool and well written, and it wasn't bad by any means. But like, I don't know. The whole thing kind of seemed... It was too much talking for me, to be honest. It was like, every time I wanted to fight something, I was like, oh, now I don't want to go fight those other demon god pillars, because I have to go through this 7-hour, like, spiel of theirs.
That was the best part of the whole thing.
But I just... yeah, I don't know. Like, they were a little long, but, like, they were good. They were. And honestly, if I had spaced them out more, I think I would have enjoyed it more, because I think I read most of them all at the same time.
Yeah.
And that was exhausting.
I feel like all the cinematics, like...
Yeah, I spread them out a little bit. That helps.
That was probably wise. Mm-hmm. Yeah, but anyway, they were cool. I like farming the god pillars, but I think that brings us to a good point here. Near the end of it, we had a bit of fun with the final god pillar, because we needed 6 million kills on that damn thing.
Yeah, and we had like 3 days.
And we were still missing most of the kills, like 44.5 million or something like that.
Like
and we're
amount.
like, well, we're screwed.
Like, everyone was just burned out from farming the whole time.
Everyone was out of apples. What are we going to do? Like, I mean, like, not this guy over here. He had 1 million left.
I have
you have
a
an
Gilgamesh stockpile of golden apples.
Yeah, so I have a very limited number. So I'm like, I'm not just going to spend all my
and
apples grinding things that I don't need.
Yeah, and this was just after Christmas, so we all had like a good amount of apples.
Yeah, and we spent a lot of them on this, and we were just all burnt out. So everyone else was too. And in Korea, it was even worse, because in Korea, the Korean server, they did some shady stuff on their server, like decreasing drop rates and stuff like that, and everyone got really mad and left the game in Korea. And we're like, they're going to end the world. The world is going to end. They're not going to win.
I think would have almost
would have been great.
A better ending, but, rip everyone's wallets who paid for quartz for that, if that were the case.
But yeah, and what they ended up doing was the developers over in the Korean server started obviously using bots or whatever to probably just artificially bumping up the kill counts. Like, it was clearly just them cheating on the behalf of the players, which is questionable, and I wouldn't have had a problem with it so much in Korea, except they then did it in America.
Yeah.
And there's really
they
no...
almost had to do it in
I
America,
know they did, but
the
like,
thing
it's
is,
so frustrating on
It
some
makes
levels.
it all feel pointless.
Right, we could have just done nothing like Korea and still won, you know? Like, it wasn't really about that, because it's just a story game for single player, but like, we wanted to feel like we were accomplishing something, and it kind of took it away from us when we didn't. Yeah, we should have just done better. Yeah, well, maybe, but like, no one person can do that, so it cheapened the experience a little bit. It made us all a little salty near the end of it, because it felt like what we did didn't matter as much.
Everyone was sick of Garbage Demon.
That garbage thing. Like,
Literal
seriously,
garbage.
if it had just been 2 million kills, it would have been great. Honestly, it would have been fine. We would have beat it, no problem.
Okay.
But 6 million was a little too many. We all didn't want to.
It should have been the same number of kills as all of the other ones, and it would have been fine.
Yeah. Anyway, we got through it, and it was all a little cheesy, but let's talk for a brief moment about how we felt about the story after that. The last bit of story here.
Yeah, a lot of story happens in
Yeah.
like the last 5 scenes of this.
Yeah.
Well,
Well, they didn't want to front load too much of the story because you would have forgotten about it by the time you got through,
So
a couple
true.
hundred demon pillars.
God.
this unfortunately got spoiled for me a long ahead of time of Ramani's actually being Solomon.
Yeah.
And I know I talked about this with you, Jacob, about how it it felt like almost out of nowhere to me. It it felt less to you because you had like actually played all the story.
Yeah, that was interesting because to me, I had seen the signs. Now, I hadn't predicted this because it's not in my nature to try to predict story things. Like, I just don't do it. But when I saw it, they revealed that, I was like, oh, that makes sense. And I thought back to the time, Romani was raving about how he was a big fan of Solomon, like when he first was brought up as a Grand Caster.
Yeah, because he was trying to
He's
explain
saying,
why Solomon couldn't be behind this. His explanation,
which is hilarious
I
because
think it was Da Vinci gave the explanation. Just he's just a real big fan.
Exactly,
of Solomon.
and it's
that's
like
why
he's like he's giving this explanation because he doesn't want to think it's Solomon, but like, oops, it actually is Solomon.
Oops, you bought
but
Solomon.
So.
And then then
there's other scenes too. I forget right now because it's been like almost a
Like-
month since then. But like, yeah, there was a bunch of stuff that were really hinting at it. The big conversation where where Sherlock is talking to you about.
Yes, Best Servant explains that Roman was involved in the Grail War in Fuyuki, the first one that you visit, the corrupted version one, anyways. And how he was supposed to be the assistant of like Olga Marie's father.
Right.
But a lot of masters don't really have servants, and especially because he says there was no record of him before.
There's a lot of suspicious stuff,
and it does kind of indicate that there's something.
There
very
was
suspicious
a
going
connection, and moreover, Romani was hella suspicious. So, like, we all knew he was gonna have some weird plot twist, right? Exactly. So it's not like it fell out of the blue to me, but I can see where you're coming from, maybe without having seen it nearly as recently.
Yeah. Something I think we can all agree on though is Foe, or Cathpolg, or however you pronounce it.
Cathpolg?
Cathpolg, yeah.
Sure. The Beast of Disaster.
Yep.
Pulling a true resurrection out of his ass and casting it on MASH was kind of... I felt like the story would have almost been better if just Romani had died, because you kind of know...
Wait, that is what... Oh, you mean like if MASH hadn't died in the first place?
If MASH hadn't, quote, died.
She didn't really need to die, I don't think. You know, like, they could have just said she blocked it instead of dying blocking it.
It serves as a very dramatic moment.
It was a good moment.
And then you get the idea through the rest of the period that, because it was like just her shield left behind, so you have the mental image of the master, Rutica or Gudo or whatever you want to call them, like picking up the shield and has to fight on their own.
Yeah.
Which isn't how it works in game, but
nope.
It's cool, but like I kind of knew like well, MASH isn't going to die.
No, we all knew she wasn't going to die. That's the thing, is because we all know that she has, like stuff coming after the event ends. Like,
plus they wouldn't take away a servant.
That's exactly it. We spent all that time and effort. You could have spent, resources and like money trying to train her up, like sort of.
I almost wonder if it was a way, if our ideas are reversed, like they didn't have Foe resurrect MASH so that they could have a MASH death scene. What if they had reverse causality and all that?
No.
No.
But no, hear me out here. What if they wanted to have a scene, because they had been building up to the whole, Foe being
MASH
one of
died,
the seven
therefore
beasts.
she had to be resurrected.
Well, no. Here's the thing. I think they wanted to have that resurrection scene. I think they wanted to have Foe do something, because they had been sort of hinting that Foe is actually this really big scary thing if it wants to be, and it turns out that it's one of the seven beasts of calamity. So
would you say it could be someone as a Foe-runner class?
But here's the thing. Who cares? It's a stupid mascot character. Like, it was cute, I guess.
take that back.
No, Foe is dumb.
I think the idea that Foe is actually, like, I don't know, a super powerful eldritch being or whatever would have been great as kind of just a side gag thing. Like,
almost.
Like, if they didn't actually put it in the story, that much, I think I would have loved it. Like, oh yeah, Foe is actually like the most powerful being.
If they kept alluding to it the way they did with Merlin, and then like maybe like occasionally show you like a tiny glimpse of it, and you're like, what? But they made a big plot point. I don't know. I don't hate it, but it felt like an ass pull. It didn't feel great. It wasn't like terrible, but I mean, I'm glad MASH is alive because MASH is great.
I know. I liked the story moment. Maybe that's just me.
It's not
I
just
thought
you,
it was,
I'm sure. But let us know in the comments whether you think that was an ass pull.
I thought it was a cool moment. I thought it all felt nice and dramatic. Just on the edge of being maybe a little too contrived, but I think it was good enough.
That's just a theory, a game theory, so a fate theory. A fate theory, yeah. So
we're changing the title again.
Fate theory. So overall, it had a really cool dramatic ending. There was some sweet art. The fights were cool. Everything was nice and like it felt appropriately climactic. I feel like it was a really dramatic, high stakes load of nonsense. Like the world is literally falling apart, but it worked. They pulled it off. It was climactic and cool. I definitely felt like some like post climax like what's left? We saved the whole friggin' world.
One thing
they did have a little bit of that.
Yeah, but like what's ever going to compare to that, I can't wait to see how they try to do it.
Yeah. One thing I'm really proud of is I got Martha as my free SSR in my first role, and I fucking killed Goetta with Martha, which I am so happy. She was there at the beginning, she was there at the end. Loyal.
I'm pretty sure you don't get an SSR, right? It's just an SR.
SR.
Okay,
I misspoke.
I was gonna say I got Emmy, and I'm like, wait, did I get gypped?
Martha's only 4-star.
I beat Geisha by literally just stab him to death. Just Media NPs spammed the crap out of him.
Oh yeah, I just used Hercules. That was I don't have Hercules. I just used someone else's Hercules and cheesed the shit out of it because none of my servants were that good at the time. My best servant was a level 70 Robin Hood, Noble Phantasm 5, who admittedly was pretty solid at certain fights, but I did have an Emmy as well, but he was so bad before because I couldn't give him to his final ascension and therefore couldn't get his strengthening quests.
Yeah, and that's were an issue for you. Until recently,
they're still an issue.
They're
real bad. Yeah. And I finally learned the pain of QP hell. He
didn't believe us.
I just finally ran out of QP, and it sucks. But anyway, so that's our retrospective on it. We don't really have enough time in this episode for any kind of future prospects, but let's just say
we'll do that in the next episode.
We'll do that in the next episode. We'll talk about future prospects, servants we're interested in, servants we have, the ones we're interested in, maybe something like that. Did we want to have an ending segment? I forget.
We were talking about an ending segment.
Cool. Well, if we haven't ironed one out yet,
Up is a lie.
Rate up is a lie. That's what it was. Right. Yeah, that's it. Yeah, okay.
All right, so who wants to take the first turn here? I see us, trading off on this.
Definitely.
So, rate up is a lie because, something that started a new ritual for me. I really enjoyed the Halloween events. Really liked them. And during the second one, I just threw a ticket at the gacha. Just threw it, and I got fucking Cleo off it.
Yeah.
And now it started a ritual for me where I throw a ticket at every single banner as an offering.
Everyone?
Every single banner that I can, I throw it one ticket at.
Huh. See, I kind of like that approach, and I've been copycatting that a bit, throwing a ticket at any banners I like. I haven't used it on every single banner because I like to have a few tickets for actually rolling.
I did have
it's worked out pretty well
tickets.
For you though.
It's worked.
It has. I've gotten a good amount of SRs at least off it. I got Noodle Granny. I got Cleo, obviously.
And thanks to that, I mean, you're all gonna hate me. I'm so sorry. I rolled Merlin on a single ticket as well on the literal off chance. I just threw a single. I was not going to use anymore. I used a single ticket. I got Merlin. Okay, well. That's it. the game's over. I've won.
You
But-
won
so,
FGO. Congrats.
Why is Raid Up a lie though?
Yeah, because that's a
That was
story
a
of how
yeah,
the
that
race
was
works.
that was a
Yeah.
great raid.
But
Raid Up is a lie because
I did that, and then I spent during Onigashima. I spent close to $100 trying to
What?
trying to get
You
Raiko.
didn't tell me it was that much.
It was like
I feel-
it was like close to $100. To be fair, it was combined courts to try for Raiko and Da Vinci. And I didn't get the. And then I did like when Raiko came back for New Year's, I did like a 10 roll and finally got her. Thank God.
Wasn't it like your 6th ticket or something like that?
It was my 6th ticket.
I
yes,
remember
thank
that because I was like, damn, that was lucky.
But believe it or not, Cole is in fact the luck sack of the three of us.
I absorb it.
It's true, although I've been getting really lucky
Yes,
lately.
you also
As
have.
we'll talk about more
Honestly,
in the next episode.
they both are rather lucky in their polls
Compared
overall.
to J-Mick, for sure, yeah.
Which
Yeah.
Next time
I'll
Good
take-
Morning,
I'll take the
Chaldea.
next segment. I'll take the next end segment.
But yeah,
I
I
have
think
a lot of stories.
I think that about wraps it up for today. You want to close us out here, Cole?
Yeah. Well, thank you guys for tuning into our first episode. Hopefully, we're gonna get these out bi-monthly. Is what we're planning.
Bi-monthly, maybe weekly.
about
We
every
haven't
other
really
week, yeah.
decided yet, but something like that.
And
Alright.
we'll learn more about production and stuff as we go. So please, be patient. If
Bear with us.
Yeah.
All right, and we will see you all next time.
Peace.
See ya.
Hey guys, thanks again for listening. You can catch up with us at Chaldea Good on Twitter and listen to our podcast anywhere that you can normally find a podcast, such as YouTube, iTunes, and Podbean. What's up, my homies?